I'm here at BGG.CON 2014 with Stephen from Stronghold Games.
Hello, everybody.
And they have tons of new games out.
We have, in the last 3 months, since GenCon, essentially, where I saw you. No, I saw you at Origins, right? Not at GenCon. We gotta make GenCon too next time. We have 10 new titles that came out, which was a crazy, sick, ridiculous year, especially for somebody who just does this like not even full time. And I'm the only person in the company. The one big thing, we had 3 things sort of at GenCon in kind of a pre-release mode, which actually didn't premiere until much later. And one of the big hits was Panamax, which is right here. Here we go. And
Did this come out at Essen?
It premiered at Essen in full release and in the stores in the U.S. that same week, in fact. Panamax is a game about shipping through the Panama Canal. The name Panamax, what does it even mean? There's a meaning to it. It's the largest size ship that can fit through the Panama Canal. And they've been building ships to this specification for 100 years because also this is the 100th anniversary of the Panama Canal. It's 2014, which is pretty amazing. This is an action dice selection game where you're getting contracts to load ships, to move them through the canal. And one of the really interesting mechanics in this game also is that when you push your ships through the canal, they form groups inside of the locks, and you have to push other people's ships when that occurs, which means you'll be helping them. You want to try to minimize that, but you can then leave them into like the big lake systems that are part of the Panama Canal as well, so that you don't have to, help them too much. So really interesting. It's got a very 18xx kind of feel to it, but in a much shorter game. Nice economic game with some really new, very modern mechanics in it. And it's sold out completely from my warehouse before it was even street dated. So yeah, and of course we're reprinting the game. Should be back in stores again soon. And
is it a light, medium, or heavy game?
This would be the medium heavy. It's pretty up there. Decent sized rule set. 2 to 4 players. With the full number of players, with 4 players, you're gonna go for about 2 hours. A little under 2 hours once you get to learn the game.
And what kind of age range do you recommend? The box says 12 plus. Have
12
you played
plus.
It with,
that's about what I would say. Smart kids can play, I think, anything just about. So that's always to try to give it an age range that doesn't, will definitely be able to do it. But you can play this with 10-year-olds as well. Without it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, cool. Thanks very much.
There you go, and that is Panamax #1. Hopefully, it won't be as long on everything, but the next game with sort of in that big Euro is Kanban, and this one, here we go, and Kanban literally just came out this week, street date. It also was at Essen, and literally just hit stores this week. Worldwide release date was November 19th. This is the follow-up. This is Futile, who did CO2 with me, and Venus before that. This is you're managing a factory producing cars, so you got to, and the word Kanban, by the way, it's a process management system that Toyota and Honda used very effectively to become the biggest, best car companies during the 1990s. And now Futile has implemented that system in a game whereby you have to go, find out what projects you need to do to start manufacturing cars, get parts, upgrade the parts, and then report back to the board of directors, all based on a victory point game. This also is about a 2-hour game time. This is definitely a heavy game. So this is not for the faint of heart. Dense 16-page rule book. Beautiful, huge board, which looks very intimidating. It's going to be hard to see it on the screen there. It's a very big and intimidating looking board. But once you get it, that each one of these sections is actually a different department. So what you do, you understand how to play this portion of the game, how to play this portion, and they all flow together. And it's a worker placement where you have a single worker who's going to visit the different departments at different times based on what he or she wants to do. And the factory manager, who's called Sandra in the game, can be played in a mean mode or an easy mode. So you play her easy when you get to learn the game, and then when you think you got it, play her mean and she really kill you. Great game, 2 to 4 players, 12 or up. I'd say this is definitely a 12 or up game.
Okay. Game number 3.
Game number 3. Oh man, what should we go to now?
Medina.
Let's go with Medina.
Yeah,
Medina is a reprint. There we go. Reprint. The Stronghold Games kind of made its name back doing reprints early on. We did Survive, we did Code 777. Even Confusion was a reprint. Medina is one of my only reprint I did this year. reprint of a classic game from 2001, been out of print for a while, with some of the most gorgeous wooden components. There's 200 pieces of wood in this game. We brought the game back even looking nicer than it did before, and we added some new mechanics into the game, the well and these T-tiles. And basically in this game, it's an abstract game where you're building the city of Medina, and as you're interacting with the other players, very highly interactive, because as you're building, they're kind of counter-building to your stuff, and sometimes it's not advantageous to take turns at certain times. That's why the T-tiles now come into play, so you can have some tea instead of actually playing your turn, so that you don't make a turn that's going to be bad for you. But really beautiful, and again, it's hard. Again, your camera's not able to capture this, but you can see what that board looks like. The board up here, and the pieces are on the other side over there. Really gorgeous shaped wooden pieces that create the entire landscape of Medina. So really beautiful. We have this at 10 to adult, I believe. There it is.
10 plus.
10 plus. 60-minute game. You can easily play it under 60 minutes, 2 to 4 players. This one just came out this week as well.
Exciting. Just in time for BGG.
Just in time for BGG. I'm going to ship that one out. Let's go for one of our light ones, which we had at GenCon as well. And this one actually came out right in the beginning of September, and that's Diamonds. Diamonds is a trick-taking card game. So many trick-taking card games, but this one excels because, like most trick-taking card games, somebody plays a suit, and you have to follow suit. But if you can't follow suit, you can play any other card off suit, and when you play off suit, you get to take an action that's specific to that suit. So you take say you played off suit and it was diamonds. The diamonds off action is that you can take a diamond from the center supply and put it into your vault. And again, it's going to be really hard on a small box to show it, but there are 130 acrylic crystals in the game. Those are the diamonds, and you're going to manipulate those, bringing them into your showroom, which is in front of your vault, or be able to put them and take them behind your vault. Diamonds in your showroom are going to be worth 1 point at the end of the game, and in your vault they're going to be worth 2 points at the end of the game. Trick taking with a really interesting twist that playing offsuit is as good as winning tricks. You also get those actions when you win tricks, but trying to like make holes in your suit so that you can play those cards offsuit and get more and more actions without maximizing the amount of actions you can take in the game.
Very interesting.
2 to 6 players, plays in 30 minutes. I believe we have 8 to adult on this box. Yes, we do. Oh, I'm so smart.
You know all your games.
Yeah, I try to roll the 10 of them. I forget very often. The last base game, that's like 4 base games now. The last base game that we'll quickly talk about is Among the Stars. Boom. And Among the Stars, right there, right between us. And Among the Stars came out actually a couple years ago with Artipia Games in Europe. Small company out in Europe, really smart guys, and they needed better distribution. They needed a publisher that can take it and bring it out into North America, and bring it out to Australia, into Asia, and we could do that. We have worldwide distribution. And Among the Stars is that 7 Wonders card drafting mechanic, where you pick a card, you all play it together. But in this case, you're building a space station. So the spatial relationships between each one of the cards, you're going to play them orthogonally adjacent. How close they are to something, or how far away they are from something, how many of a given room or a given colored kind of room are in your space station, those things matter. And you're gaining victory points in this game as you go along, so you'll be able to track that on the scoreboard over here as you're building your space station over here and over here. And you'll be able to track that, and you kind of see how things are playing out. So in 7 Wonders, which is people kind of compare it to, you almost don't know how that scoring is going to happen. Here you can kind of see the score as it goes along, but then of course there will be a final end game scoring as well too. Really, really great 2 to 4 player game, plays in 30 minutes, 12 plus, easily can be played with 10-year-olds as well. But wait, there's more. Expansion! So with Among the Stars, we also essentially simultaneously, within the next couple of months of bringing out the base game, we brought out the Ambassadors, that's this one, right? The Ambassadors expansion, as well as expanding the Alliance. And in the Ambassadors, it has a lot of player interaction. Now you'll be able to send your ambassadors over to the other people's space stations to either mess with them or get a mutual benefit with the other person, because the thematics of this universe is really cool. That there was this huge war that some alien race attacked and all of a sudden now all the other alien races that didn't like each other now had to come together to build these space stations. So the ambassadors now are, trying to help each other out, sort of, but they're not really because they still hate each other. So there'll be wars again at some point in the future. So that was the first one, and then expanding the Alliance expansion, we basically thematically packaged in there all of the promos that Artipia had ever brought out. So if you're like a latecomer into the game, by buying all of this, you get everything that's ever been produced for the game. So it enables you to catch up, so to speak, to everybody else who's been playing the game for the last 2 years. That's the Among the Stars universe, and we're going to be doing more and more things with Artipia, and more things in the Among the Stars universe as we go along.
Would you say these games are easier to pick up, like a bit of a lighter game, or just as heavy as?
Oh, this is much easier. As it says 12 plus on it, but this is absolutely a much easier game because you can try to like min-max it really and really play it optimally. But in this kind of game, you can pick your cards, just play your card, pick a card, play a card. Once you really get used to all the cards in the game, then you're going to be able to truly find those optimal strategies and things like that. And then of course they add more cards from the expansions, and it's even going to make it harder on you again. But definitely a much more approachable game than a Kanban or a Panamax. More on the levels of like Medina, which is easy, easy to get into, and you can start playing it pretty quickly right from the rules too. So this one's something you can play from the rules.
Perfect.
There you go. Oh, and yeah, I mentioned the 2 to 4 in 1/2 hour.
Yes.
All right. So the next 3 things we'll almost talk about almost simultaneously, not exactly. There are 3 more expansions that Stronghold Games brought up. Some of it's real core games that we've had. Now, let's start with Core Worlds Revolution. Core Worlds Revolution is the second expansion in Core Worlds, which is my version of deck building, right? This is, when Dominion became big and Ascension came out, Andrew Parks, great designer, came to me and said, those games are okay, but it's the deck building portion that's really interesting and different. So he wanted to implement deck building as a function of the game, not as the entire game, like in Dominion or Ascension, which are fine games. But this, Core Worlds took that deck building to another level. Very Euro-y mechanics in that game, and very thematic as well. This is the second expansion in the Core Worlds universe, and it expands on the thematics and mechanics of the heroes in the game. So now every one of the races, every one of the core the barbarian worlds, because you all start as playing a barbarian world, every one of those worlds has a hero that starts in the game with you, and you can pick up other heroes as you go through the different sectors. So in this game, you're going to get heroic tactics cards that you're going to put right next to your regular draw deck, and anytime you deploy a hero into your war zone, you can pick up one of the heroic tactics associated with that hero. And they give you all these huge powers in the game because they're the heroes. They're the big bad guys in the game, or the big good guys in the game if they're on your side. So really expanding on the thematics of the game and adding yet another mechanic that really seamlessly integrates. So if you're a fan already of Core Worlds, this is a no-brainer buy for you, I think. Those who don't know the Core Worlds universe, obviously start with that base game. When you get that, the first expansion really ratchets it up, and this would be the second expansion that really just fleshes the whole game out. Core Worlds Revolution, Core Worlds in general, 2 to 5 player game, plays in 1 to 2 hours depending on the number of players, ages 10 and up, and that's exactly what it's be.
Perfect.
And then we get to the Space Cadets expansions. We started Space Cadets with the original games, the original Space Cadets game, which is a fully cooperative 1 to 6 player game. I'm sorry, I said 1 to 6. It's a 3 to 6 player game. And in Space Cadets, you are basically, you're playing the bridge crew of a starship. Each guy has a different role, and you'll have a mini game to it. So we wanted to come out with yet another expansion that we can add yet another player. So now you can play with the Science Officer for a 7th player, or you can even play it with 2 players. There's an even way now to play with 2 players, which makes the game really interesting. The Science Officer is very well-meaning, but what he's going to do is he's going to be stealing pieces from other stations to build this really cool equipment for you. Of course, that's going to hurt the station, but hopefully help the ship overall. New missions in the game, a new foe called the Space Kraken, who's really, really hard to defeat. So, really nice addition to the original Space Cadets game. And as I said, this now goes to 2 to 7 players in this big cooperative game. great for families too. When one person can learn how to play the game, then they can play with the entire family.
Excellent.
And then finally, after 10 games we've talked about,
Number 10.
Number 10 is Space Cadets Dice Duel Die Fighter. Okay, this is the expansion to the Space Cadets Dice Duel game. This came out at the end of last year. And that was a big game because it went from 4 to 8 players. Now, with this, you can go from 2 to 10 players. So you can go lower and you can go higher. You can play with these new fighter ships that are in the game. So you can play this huge battle where each team, this is team versus team, real-time dice rolling Starship combat. So you can play with, with 4 ships on the board now, each having 2, or you can play with one team just having the 2 fighters going against the big capital ship, or you can play with the 2 fighters dogfighting each other. So it's giving you all these ways to play it, and there's experimental equipment cards in the game you can draft before the game starts. So it comes with awesome, lots of new dice in the game. It really, again, takes a really fun game, playable in 20 minutes, 30-minute game on the box. You can add more stuff into it. Fun, fast, frantic, 12 plus, 2 to 10 players. And that is the crazy amount of stuff that Stronghold Games has done in the last 3 months, and we're going to continue to do great games into the future.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much for all of that.
Thank you, Phoebe. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.